So like I said in the morning, we had a good session, and for those who came in a little later, I will ask Cosmas to do a quick recap of what we did in the morning, and then after that, Father will lead us on the reflection question that he gave us shortly before the break. And for those who didn't know Cosmas, I think Cosmas is a social worker by profession, and I think he did the introduction. That is why he was leading us in this. So Cosmas, please.
Thank you so much, David, for giving me this chance again to recap what we discussed at the beginning of this meeting. So I'm not going to go through all the details. I'll just remind you just a few talking points we had. So we defined what mental health was. We talked about psychological, social, and emotional well-being. So when those three elements are not balanced, then you have a mental health illness. And we talked about the causes of mental health. We discussed many of them, but we zeroed in on two of them because of our uniqueness. We are immigrants and we are black. So our stressors are different from other people. We suffer social isolation. Our families are not here, most of us. Our parents are back home. Some of us come from large polygamous families. We grew up with our stepbrothers. We don't see them for a very long time. And that causes loneliness and isolation. Even when we live here, because of our work schedules and demands of work and the culture over here, we live in far-flung cities. We are isolated from each other. We also suffer discrimination, especially racism. We have double strikes. Unlike our native African American brothers, we are not only black, but we are also from Africa. So that gives us a double challenge. We have a different culture, we speak different languages, and we struggle a lot to fit into this new culture. We even struggle to make relationships with our African American brothers because they don't understand us and we don't understand them. So you can imagine how hard that is to deal with white people. And we talked about warning signs, how to know that a family member or even yourself or even your child could be suffering from a mental health problem. We talked about having fears. I remember when I was new here, and I think the older you get in this country, the more easier and more comfortable you get. And some of these anxieties and fears just dissipate. So I remember when I was new here, I was afraid of everything. Driving, even going to a restaurant to order for food. Those are very easy things for natives of this country. But those things can cause stress for us, even work environment and expectations. You know, punching in was a very big problem for me. Being late for 2 minutes was a big problem. When we could be late for 1 hour in Africa, nothing happens. So there's cultural differences over here. They don't understand why you should be late for 2 hours. You know, this meeting was supposed to start at 10 a.m., but we began like an hour later and nobody apologized. It's an African culture, but if we had white people here, they would have left. They would have been here at 10. So we need to understand also that cultural differences can cause confusions and misunderstanding. And if your white boss might think that you are disobedient and rude because you constantly come late, unless they understand that you are from Africa, from Kenya, where haraka haraka haina baraka. We take things slow, you know. Time is infinite in Africa. We can stay here until darkness. And we also talked about another symptom, another sign of mental health, the growing inability to cope with the daily problems and activities. A lot of immigrants, and especially us, you know, from Africa, this country is very different. Even they drive on the right, isn't it? We drive on the left. The kind of English they speak, you all know, is not the same as the English we speak back home. When I went to college here, I had, every time I typed on the computer underlined spelling mistakes that I didn't think were mistakes because we learned the British English. So we have to cope with the different trends and expectations of this country. And that can be a stressor. I remember one of my colleagues at work, I used to type the word mom, I type M-U-M. That's how we type in the English version of English. Here they type M-O-M. And they used to wonder why, they used to talk about me in the whole department. Cosmas says M-U-M. And they used to make a big deal about it. So I had to learn to change to M-O-M. So some of these things can cause stresses, and so many other things that I have not mentioned. I will finish with the 8 ways to keep yourself mentally healthy. These are not the only ways. These are the ones that I found. To be patient with yourself. Don't be in a rush. Take time. There's a lot of things to learn. I figure out that even learning to pay rent, getting to work and back home, paying bills in this country in itself is a course. Just learning to get around. I was sharing with my friend here, we had a barbecue 2 years ago at his house. And we didn't know. We were just a bunch of us, African men, having good time on a weekend. And we were just we were laughing, we laugh loudly. We didn't know that laughing loudly is a problem. And that we were not supposed to be outside after 10 p.m. In Africa, we just freestyle. 2 ladies came down from the apartment and told us, according to the New Hope City Ordinance, you are not supposed to be outside, you are not supposed to be barbecuing and talking after 10 p.m. I didn't even know what ordinance meant. So we agreed with her. I went back to check what ordinance means. It's whatever the rules that govern the city of New Hope. So those are some of the things that you might not understand, but they will affect you. Spend time with your loved ones. I know we have different problems back home, poverty, and we want to solve all the problems. Take your brothers, your cousins, your brothers' children to school, pay school fees, build your mother a house, build yourself a house. We live a double life. And then you find yourselves picking another job, or even some people work 3 jobs just to gather enough money to do all those things. So those things can keep you away from your family. I know some people who carry changing clothes to work. They literally go for days before they come home. Even their own children don't know them very well. So that's not good for your mental health, and even for your children. So spend enough time with your family members. When you file taxes next year, please buy that plane ticket, go home. It's very healthy for you to see your mother, to see your father, even to see your own home, your own house that you built with your own sweat. And as I told you in the morning, every time I fly home, I don't know what it is. When I land at JKIA, I feel like there's a heavy lift, a heavy load that has been removed from my head. I feel suddenly free. And the day I get back here, it comes back. I feel pressed. I don't know what it is. That is stress. We have stress that is unaddressed. So take a break from social media, and I told you we love social media, and unfortunately it's the only way we keep up with the situation back home. You want to see what your friends are doing. They want to see what you're doing. They want to know what kind of car you are driving. You want to impress them. You overwork yourself to buy a very beautiful car so you can show them. Sometimes you lie, and you know what I mean. You take a picture, again, it's a very nice car, and post it. So everybody thinks you are doing very well. And when you go home, you want to continue with that to show them that you are the person. So you find yourself living a lie. And even other people, I think 60 to 70% of the things you see online are fake. They are not true. Nobody posts bad things on social media. Everybody's happy on social media. But in real life, is that true? It's not true. We are suffering. We are behind in bills. We are sick. Nobody's going to tell you that on social media. So when you see things on social media, just take them with a pinch of salt. Get up and get moving. And I'll use my friend Otuori as an example. He recently registered in a gym, and he has lost about 30 pounds. Be physically active. In fact, he encouraged me. This week I went to the gym this morning before I came here. So it's good for your health. Also get enough rest. Get home, sleep early, stay at your home. You pay rent in a house that you don't even live in. So you can imagine. Also listen to your body. I don't know how to explain this. Figure out what your body can do. Don't push yourself too much. If you can't work beyond 8 hours, just cut your clothes according to your size. Remind yourself that you are strong. Now this is spiritual, okay? Like now we have Father here, giving us spiritual nourishment, reminding us that we have a superior power who is taking care of us. So some of the things that we can't solve, we leave them to the God, to our Lord, so that we don't have to worry too much. Lastly, seek help. There is help. In this country, some of the things that I really enjoy is that almost anything you need is here. We don't have therapy. I never knew, in the town I used to live, there were no therapists. I didn't even know that I can go to a person and... Keroka. There was no therapist. Even in Kisi town, I don't know whether they have. Maybe they do. Maybe one. To serve 3 million people. But over here, if you live, for example, in Hennepin County, if you go online and check the Hennepin County adult mental health, you will see a number there. If you are on a crisis, if somebody you know is suicidal, they will come very quickly and help you. So seek help. I know there is a stigma. We are Africans. We are taught to be stoic, to be strong, to suffer through. But you will just die. You will not live to retire if you keep pushing yourself. At some point, your body will give way, and you will not enjoy your retirement. If you want to live long, seek therapy. There are people here. There are resources. So seek help. Thank you.